Saul was killed, and all his sons were killed, and they came in and inhabited the cities, and the Israelites moved out and whatever. So the Valley of Jezreel, remember that? So the Philistines had really shown their power back then. But now we got a new king in town. And it's kind of strange that where has David spent a lot of his time living? In the middle of Philistine territory, right? And buddied up with their king and everything when he was fleeing from Saul. Now that David's king over Israel, things have changed around a little bit. So Philistines came in and decided to come in and attack the Israelites. So that little phrase here again we talk about so much. David inquired of God, what should I do? The Philistines are attacking. And so he asked God. And God told him what to do. He said, go over and engage them. So take them on and I'll give you the victory. And he did. God gave him the victory, and the Philistines abandoned their idols they had taken out there with them. And David collected all those up and burned them. Taking the idols out to the battlefront kind of reminds me of when Saul took the ark of God out to the battlefront. The Philistines actually stole it, took it captive there. But now they got their idols out there, and the Israelites defeat them. They drop the idols and run, and David puts them all together and burns them. But some time passes, I don't know how much exactly, and the Philistines come up again against David. A battle against David again. And once again, David does this little phrase here. He asks God, what should I do? And we pointed out several times, David inquired of the Lord, inquired of the Lord, inquired of the Lord. Over and over and over and over and over. And we're going to see in a minute, David got burned bad when he didn't do that. Okay, keep that little thing in mind. David inquires of the Lord of what he should do with the Philistines. And God tells him again, but this time he doesn't go out and engage them. He says, go around behind them and sit there and wait until you hear this sound of marching up in the top of the trees. And that'll be God's coming in and doing that. And will rouse the Philistines. And once again, David had a great victory over them. So that's kind of the two little battles between David and the Philistines. David won both battles. God gave him the victory. And both times before we went out to battle, David inquired of the Lord, what should I do in this battle? Okay? That's kind of a little short part about that. Big thing we're going to talk about this morning is David and the ark. Okay? We're not talking about now Noah's ark. Everybody knows that. We're talking about this little box. It's about what I can tell, 2.5 feet, about maybe a little over 4 feet, something like that. 31 inches, 50 inches or so. So it's not a great big box. It's a little chest type thing. What's important is what's on top of it. The mercy seat there with the cherubim, because what do we know about the cherubim itself? Where does God's presence reside with the Israelites? All the time they were in the wilderness, wandering around, after Moses had built the ark and the mercy seat, the cherubim, that's where God's presence had been among the people. All the 40 years wandering, the time of the judges, that's where God was among the people. So this is a very important thing to them. The very presence of God. They're like the Philistines and their idols. That is their representation of their God. So David decides to bring this ark from where it's been. I haven't had a matrix picture from this today, I'm sorry. Bring the ark from where it had been, where the Philistines had captured it, and it had been sent back to the Israelites and sitting there kind of stored up. And has been all this time, we talked about that. He decides to bring it back into Jerusalem, the tent he's got prepared for it. He does it with what we would call a patriotic parade type thing. I mean, it's really a big deal. With the singers, the marchers, and the people playing on instruments, and just a great big number of people there. And they just make a great big fanfare of bringing the ark back into Jerusalem. This is a big event for the Israelites. So as they come in, they go get the ark, and they put it on a new cart to bring it back in. Now, that sounds reasonable. You wouldn't put it on an old cart. I mean, something that's important, you will build a new cart and put it on there. So they build this new cart, and Not sure where they got this idea. It was when the Philistines had sent it back to the Israelites after they had captured it. That's how they sent it back. They put it on a new cart and sent it back to Israel. So they did transport it before on a new cart. So they built this new cart, and they put the ark on it, and they start bringing it back in toward Jerusalem. And a couple of guys are driving a cart. One of them name is Uzzah. And you got to think about what his cargo is now. It is this extremely important piece of furniture that represents the very presence of God to the Israelites. So they're going along, and they come to this threshing floor. I read an article the other day that said it was not unusual to have the threshing floors built somewhere near the main roads. Now, I'm not sure exactly why that's true, but it's there. So they come to this threshing floor. It's a little rough terrain type thing there. And the oxen stumble. Now, Tim, what would you do if you got the ark on the back of a cart, and you're driving the cart, the oxen stumbles, and the ark starts to shift and fall off? What are you going to do with it? Yeah, run away, right. Knowing what I know, I'm going to run. And you know, we'll get to that part in a minute about being away from it, okay? Yeah, we'll run away from it, so I don't want to die. Other than what most of us would do, you reach back, you put his hand on it, just keep it from falling off. I mean, you know. What's God's response to that? I do. He struck him dead. He struck him dead on the spot. Watch him run. You know the story. God struck Uzzah dead for touching the ark. And what's more interesting, perhaps, we can understand that one. What was David's response to that? He got very, very angry at God for what he had done. Okay. Very angry at God for what he had done. Keep these points in mind. We'll get to them a little later. We'll start talking about some of this stuff. Application stuff later on. They're moving the ark on this new cart. Oxen stumbled, ark shift, Uzzah touched it. God kills him. David gets angry about it. Now, sometimes passes. David talked about that. What was David's first decision? What did David decide to do with the ark then? They didn't put it on another cart and start moving on. What did they do? They left it there at the house of Obed-Edom. I think the period's 3 months, if I remember right. They just unloaded it and stuck it back in a corner and let it sit there a while. Didn't work. What we tried to do didn't work. So put it on the shelf and forget about it. But some time passes, 3 months, I think, if I remember right. David thinks back on it again. David makes another decision now. He said, the ark needs to be in Jerusalem. That's David's capital. That's the center of everything now. That's what it should be. So he rearranges things a little bit. Well, instead of getting a new cart to bring it on, he goes back and looks at what we have in Exodus 25. And he finds out how he's supposed to move the ark. This is what he tells Levites in verse 13. This is what he tells the Levites. He tells them what they're supposed to do to move the ark. Is if because you did do this the first time, Lord our God broke out against us because we did not consult him about the proper order. What's David been doing all along? Inquire the Lord, inquire the Lord, inquire the Lord. He wanted to know what God's will was. What did he do about moving the ark? Didn't go look it up. Did it his way? Did it the way? Did it some way besides God's way? Uzzah died because of it. David got angry because of it. David's gone back now and he looked and said, okay, how does God want me to do this? So now he's moving the way God wants it. Don't you look at that verse on the screen just a minute. If you read the last part of that verse, God broke out against us because we did not consult him about the proper way. That is different today. God may have business like us dead. We don't do things his way. If God's any more pleased with us, and we don't go look and find out how he wants us to do things. I don't care whether it's marriage relationships, parent-child relationships, church activity, I don't care what it is, God's got a way for it to be done. That's his way. What's our job? To do what David didn't do the first time, right? To go see what that will is and do it that way. We'll talk about this more in a minute. I just got to drive that point a little bit there. All right, here's another picture of the move of the ark, all covered up. The high priest and just a few select people that actually see the ark. They would cover it with a heavy skin, and there was this cover of blue that goes over it. And the priest would take it on their shoulders. That's how they were to move it. All right. We'll slide about the ark and move it. Let's take this on to somebody over here. The high priest, the descendants of Aaron, would cover the holy things so no one would die. Anything in the tabernacle was holy, only very few select people could see it as they prepared it to be moved. The high priest and just a few others around him. On the Kohathites, that's one of the descendants of Aaron. They're the ones that could carry the ark. Very select group. Carried by humans on their shoulders, like the slide showed, not on a cart, okay? Even if a Kohathite, one of the ones carrying it, if they touched it, they would die. If the Kohathite, the ones carried it, looked into it, he would die. If any non-Levite, like Tim said, you're going to run a while ago, any non-Levite came close to it, he would do it under the threat of death. This was a holy thing to God. So us touching it was beyond bad. We can't describe how bad it was. Yeah. All right, back to our story. So David thinks about how he didn't do it right the first time. So he gets things ready and has the proper people carrying it the proper way, and they bring it to Jerusalem with this great big parade, and David's out dancing in the front of it, making merry, and lots of singers and those playing the instruments, and it's a great big event there. They bring it in there, and David's, like I said, out with the parade there in front of the preacher carrying the ark. Ark gets there. David has a tent prepared for it. Put the ark there, and David leads the nation in a great worship ceremony for God. So they now brought the presence of God into David's capital, to the city of David, Jerusalem, and they just making a great, merry celebration and worship of God. At this point, David writes what we have in Psalm 105. So also, if you got First Chronicles there, look at First Chronicles. Doug is going to read for us this thing David wrote. And it's First Chronicles 16, starts at about verse 8, I think, there with that. But I want you to notice two or three things. The very first verse of it is a phrase of a song we sing. Make known his deeds among the people. And you'll see some other phrases as Doug reads through here that are phrases from songs that we have. When David says, make known God's deeds among the people, as he reads through this thing and you look at it, that's exactly what David's going to do. He's going to talk about a lot of things that God has done for the nation of Israel over the years. He's doing this great celebration of how great and awesome God is and what he's done for Israel and how he's cared for them. And it's offering praise and gratitude to God as he goes through here. Okay, Doug, we've got plenty of time, so we read through this and follow through with Doug and then just think about this great celebration of worship that David is leading the nation in.
Oh, give thanks to the Lord, call upon his name, make known his deeds among the peoples. Sing to him, sing songs to him. Talk of all his wondrous works, glory in his holy name. Let the hearts of those rejoice who seek the Lord. Seek the Lord in his strength, seek his face evermore. Remember his marvelous works which he has done, his wonders, and the judgments of his mouth. O seed of Israel, his servant, you children of Jacob, his chosen ones. He is the Lord our God. His judgments are in all the earth. Remember his covenant forever, the word which he commanded for 1,000 generations, the covenant which he made with Abraham, and his oath to Isaac, and confirmed it to Jacob for a statute, to Israel for an everlasting covenant, saying, to you I will give the land of Canaan, as the allotment of your inheritance, when you were few in number, indeed very few, and strangers in it. When they went from one nation to another, and from one kingdom to another people, he permitted no man to do them wrong. Yes, he rebuked kings for their sakes, saying, do not touch my anointed ones, and do my prophets no harm. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. Proclaim the good news of his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the nations, his wonders among all peoples. For the Lord is great and greatly to be praised. He is also to be feared above all gods, for all of the gods of the peoples are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Honor and majesty are before him. Strength and gladness are in his place. Give to the Lord, O families of the peoples. Give to the Lord glory and strength. Give to the Lord the glory due his name. Bring an offering and come before him. O worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. Tremble before him, all the earth. The world also is firmly established. It shall not be moved. Let the heavens rejoice, and let the earth be glad. And let them say among the nations, the Lord reigns. Let the sea roar in all its fullness. Let the field rejoice and all that is in it. Then the trees of the woods shall rejoice before the Lord, for he is coming to judge the earth. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endures forever. And say, save us, O God, our salvation. Gather us together and deliver us from the Gentiles, to give thanks to your holy name, to triumph in your praise. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel from everlasting to everlasting. And all the people said, Amen, and praised the Lord.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say after that. I don't like the word awesome. This is awesome. I mean, think what David has written here. Praising God. Looking back through the history of what he's done for him. What he's done, talked to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. What he brought through Joseph. He led them into the land of Canaan. All this praise and honor and glory and gratitude and whatever David gives to God. It's a great way he did right. Okay. I say we got the ark into Jerusalem, went through this worship. But somebody's got to care for the ark. There's assigned ways to do that God had given Moses. And so David brings that out. And he arranges for the priests to take care of the ark on an ongoing basis type thing. It's not just a one-time thing. Think about the corner. Now it's in the tent, especially prepared for David. Keep in mind now, this is very important. The ark is in a tent. Not the tabernacle. The tabernacle's gone. It's not the temple. The temple's not there yet. It's just a tent that David's prepared for the ark to be in. That's where the ark was sitting now. That's going to come into play a little bit later on to get into the story here. So we've got the priests all arranged. The ones who properly should care for the ark, those are there, and so that moves on. Got a little thing goes on here. As David was coming in this big parade, and he was leaping and dancing, and in this joyous occasion, Michal, who is Saul's daughter, David's wife, looks out a window and sees David. And what does she accuse David of? Yeah, acting foolish. And he bears himself improperly before the daughters of the land. So, and David's got an effort on a longer robe, but apparently it is toward her, and he's dancing and whatever. It flies back, and And the daughters of the land can see parts of David they shouldn't see. That's her accusation against David. Yeah, the dignity wasn't there, right? Kind of acting foolish is the word over here, I think. David was not conducting himself as she thought the king should in the proper leadership. But David is, and this is not the way we would worship. I understand that. But David is worshiping God. He's doing a great feat in bringing this ark back to Jerusalem. It's been ignored. We added years up here in one of the classes. 70 years. It's been sitting idle somewhere. I think we came up with. David is doing something great in bringing the ark, God's presence, back into Jerusalem, where God is blessing him, and his kingdom's going to be great. We can get to 2 Samuel chapter 7 here, probably next time. And it's a magnificent chapter, very important chapter. So David it's a great time for David. Micah doesn't like it. Now, what I don't know for sure is, did David really bear himself improperly before the daughters of the land, or just her accusation? No doubt she was conducting herself in this joyous manner, which she thought was maybe about the king's support. Whether he actually did what she accused him of or not. But David took it seriously. And she made his accusation, and he corrects her perceptions, behavior, and said that's not what it was. I was making merry before God, worshiping him, praising him, and after that, he had no more use for her. No more use as a wife, and she had no children the day of her death, which at that time was a very significant thing. So that kind of ends David's relationship with Michal, Saul's daughter, which he gave to her way back when he was during all the trouble they were having back then. Saul took back away from him, and David got her back, and all that whole story there. So that kind of wraps up his relationship with David and Michal. Okay, we got a few minutes. We got some things that are pretty heavy to talk about today from some of these applications. So if you got some things to chime in with, I'd love to hear your comments. So let's start with this. Sincerity alone is not enough to try to please God. What do we mean by that? Okay. Lots of people would say, as long as you're honest and sincere with what you're trying to do with God, that's okay. That's what you've got to be. I am honestly and sincerely worshiping God the way I think is best, or whatever they might tack on the end of that phrase there. Honesty and sincerity. Here's the question. Was Uzzah sincere when he was trying to keep the ark from falling? Absolutely. Okay. He thought he was doing the right thing. Who would want the ark of God to fall off the cart and bust, break open? Nobody. Okay. So Uzzah was doing exactly what he thought he should do, to take care of the ark of God. David sincere and wanted to get the ark moved from where it was back into Jerusalem so it could be there for worship? Absolutely. Totally. What was wrong with both of these situations? We've already talked about that. They didn't seek the proper order, okay? Honesty and sincerity didn't happen. Okay? It's how it was done. Instead of us just as dead, even though he's honest and sincere, sure he was. Okay? David just as wrong the way he had handled it, getting angry over it. He got angry over something toward God when he was doing it wrong to start with. All right, we got some verses to read here. Sincerity, worshiping or serving God in spirit, got to be matched by doing it right. I don't know who I gave these verses to. Who's got Joshua 24:14? Okay, Mike?
Serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put him God
the Lord in sincerity and truth. We do it sincerely, but we do it the way he wants it done. John 4:23. Okay. So Jesus, the woman on the well in John 4. Time's coming when those who worship him and worship him in spirit and in truth. For the truth to go with our sincerity. All right, another point. There's no room for emotionalism in our decision making about how we're going to do things with God. David got emotional. He got angry at God. Okay. And let's look at this here. Did I give you back 2 Samuel 6? I wrote that one down live. That's not in part of our text here, so I don't think I did. Okay, but what it is, David got angry with God over the way this thing worked here. So he's what David might say is this little expression here. Well, if we can't do it this way, then how's it going to get done? I can't put it on a new cart and move it. How am I going to do it? If I can't worship God this way, then how am I going to worship him? If I can't act like this, then what you expecting out of me? Okay. Or if we can do it this way, we just want to do it all. Which what kind of what David did when he took the ark and put it back in storage there and left it in the house of Obed-Edom. The way we tried to move it didn't work. We put it on a new cart and moved it. Look what happened to us. They got killed. What's the car over in the corner? Forget about it. We can't do it this way. We're not going to do it at all. And these things kind of hit home a little bit. Yeah. And we're going to get that very point. Hang on that very point. We'll talk about the very thing. Okay? So, the point is emotional thinking blinds us to not our wisdom, but whose wisdom? Lead on God's wisdom. Okay. What do we have to think? Isaiah 55, 8 and 9. I've got that. Yeah, we don't think like God thinks. Our ways are not his ways. And which way matters? Not my way, God's way. Okay? We don't think like God thinks. We think like putting the ark on a new cart and carrying it across. God said, no, that's not how I want it done. He laid out how you want it done. Okay? Even if the most ideas considered, we're still left to deal with the thing that doesn't change. No matter what we feel about it, how we think it ought to be done, what matters? We did not consult with God about the proper order, David said. That's what matters. Okay. All right, third point. All these kind of are related. That is that God expects complete obedience out of us. Complete obedience. Let's look at that a minute. When God gives us a command, a plain command, what does he want us to do with it? Obey it. How much of it? All of it. Okay? He expects his, in the quotation marks, his due order, the way he wants it done, to be done, or there's the consequences. Now, again, we don't relate to that sometimes because we don't get struck dead on the spot. But God's got a way he wants it done, and there's going to be consequences to pay down the road. Let's read these verses. Matthew 28, actually 19 and 20. Okay? What's God's way of making disciples? There's other disciples going out and teach and baptizing, and God's got a way he wants it done. Okay? We follow his proper order. Nothing more here. Hebrews 5, 8 and 9. Can we learn to obey God? Who learned obedience? Christ learned to obey the Father. Did Christ want to go to the cross? If you want to go through what he went through, none of us would. Why did he do it? Because God is love, because what God wanted was obedience that made him do it. He's our example in obedience that way too. So when God's order, what God wants done, we do. You got to understand that. 10:26 to 31. Oh, I got 26 to 27, I think. Yeah, there's two verses, please. Yeah, if we look at the proper order and then decide not to do it, then what? What's waiting for us, James? Major condemnation, a fiery death. Consequences. We think, we didn't get struck dead. No. But it's coming. All right, number 4. Talk about it in the past. God punishes sin. We got to understand that. What do many modern day parents do with their children? You did it again, I'm going to do what? Thank you. A little bit later, you did it again, now what? I'm going to spank you. After the third or fourth, you did it again, now I'm really going to spank you now. Yeah. Now put that in God's place. Is God going to do what James just read in Hebrews 10:27? I don't doubt it. Okay. And he ain't got to tell me 4 or 5 times he's going to do it. He does the thing. God means what he says. Hebrews 2. We've got that ready. All right, back up it. Every transgression receives what? Just recompense, reward. Transgress what God says, justice is coming. Now, what's that whole passage about? We ought to give the more earnestly. We ought to learn from what we have just talked about this morning and said, I believe God when he said, I'm going to strike us dead. Tim said, I don't want to touch it. I'm going to run away from it because of that. So what are we going to do when we get sin before us? What are we going to do when we need to know how God wants us to do? We're going to look at his proper order. We understand his proper order. Then what we do? We do it. We do all of it. I know I'm preaching this morning, but you know this already. But this lesson just lends so much of the application of this point. Okay? It really, really does. And we get down to what Randall mentioned a minute ago. People today, and us if we're not careful, are still trying to use new cards. What do you mean by that? Is anything in the law of Moses about using a new cart to transport the ark? Absolutely nothing. Was not there. It's all made up by men. Yeah, and maybe what the Philistines did was a cart to start with. I got the idea from somewhere else, not from God. I mean, things go on today in Christianity, quote, that are new cards. They're not what's in the Scripture. And things of denominationalism, music, I mentioned a while ago, saved by faith only, once saved, always saved, infant baptism, all these things that we see in the religious world, and we got to be careful we don't get them right in the middle of us. These things are new carts. They're not there. Just like the cart that David had was not in God's plan, these things aren't in God's plan. Or you can go to the other side of the chart over here and look at some of these things. Sponsor the church, orphans' homes, missionary societies, nothing unbelievers out of church treasures. We don't do these things. Why? What are they? They're new cards. Not there. Therefore, we don't practice. The new cards we have today won't work any better than David's new card did. At all. Yes, sir. I'm kidding. We got all the time. Read the commentaries about this. Let's take up on what Albert said. There's several things about, did David really know this and just didn't do it? Did David not know what the law said and went to the priest and they just didn't bring it up and do it? How it all got messed up, I don't know. All we know is they didn't consult God as they should have and made a big mess out of it. Big time mess out of it. And we got to do the same thing. And then if you're here teaching, please, there's lessons here, folks. You're teach these lessons for these young people in our class and stuff like that. All right, I think next time we have 2 Samuel 7. Read that chapter, 1 Chronicles 17, type in the parallel to it. Read it and read it and read it and read it. One of the most important passages we've got coming up. Yeah, well, I don't know how it got there, but it got on the cart some way. Yeah, I mean, whether the priest did it, we don't know, but you're right. They didn't strike up the end, did it?